Great. Hello and welcome. Thanks so much for joining us today for our pre-arrival webinar focusing on graduate student funding. First off, if we haven't already, we want to just wish you congratulations on your admittance and welcome to UC San Diego. We are so excited to begin interacting with our new cohort of students and doing our best to support you during your transition to our campus. My name is Grace Fuller. I use she, her pronouns, and I get to serve as the Manager of International Experience and Engagement here at the International Services and Engagement Office, sometimes referred to as ISEO, and I'll hand it over to my colleagues to introduce themselves.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jessica Boyle. I use she, her pronouns as well, and I am an International Student Advisor here at the International Services and Engagement Office, ISEO.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Shauna Slabiota, and I work in the Division of Graduate Education and Postdoctoral Affairs, which we abbreviate as GEPA. And part of my role is organizing activities for new graduate students. So I'm happy to be here and happy to welcome you all to UC San Diego. And I will pass it along to my colleagues.
Good morning. I'm Courtney Aguila. I'm the Assistant Director of the Graduate Student Financial Support Unit, also in GEPA, and our role is to make sure that merit-based aid that you're awarded for employment or non-employment financial support or fellowships make it to your account in the right ways. And I'm going to pass it to Flo.
Hello, everyone. My name is Flo Guthrie. I am one of the Graduate Fellowship Disbursements Coordinators within the Financial Support Unit in GEPA. Our main focus is the post-award side of graduate fellowship financial support.
And hello, everyone. My name is Casper Nelson. I work in Student Financial Solutions, which mainly is the front line for student accounts when it comes to billing and payment inquiries. So if you ever have a question with how your Triton Pay account is looking, you're more than welcome to contact us for further support.
Wonderful. Thank you so much to my colleagues for being here. A wealth of knowledge is definitely represented, so we're excited to have you. A little bit of housekeeping before we begin. So if this is your first webinar, remember you are in listen-only mode. So unfortunately, we can't hear you, but you can hear us. So the main way that we'll interact together today is through that Q&A feature on your Zoom menu bar. You can use that throughout the webinar to submit questions. We will have time at the end dedicated for open question and answer, open Q&A. So please know that we will have that time. We may answer your questions throughout the webinar, so I might recommend to hold tight on your questions to see if it's answered, but then we'll definitely have that dedicated space. And finally, we are recording, so you'll be able to view this webinar recording as well as all previous pre-arrival webinar recordings at inewstudentwebinars.ucsd.edu. That is also the place that you can register for upcoming webinars, so it's a great resource I'd highly recommend. And finally, this is just a friendly reminder of kind of what that Zoom Q&A feature looks like. We'll be sharing links to the chat, but again, you won't be able to utilize the chat to communicate with us. It will really be through that Q&A feature. And with that, I'll turn it over to Shauna for some first steps checklists and reminders.
Thank you, Grace. So you have all been in your graduate application portal by now. That's where you apply to graduate school and where you would have seen the application decision. But it's not over yet for that portal. We still need you to go in, make sure that you have completed all your to-do items. So for some programs, this includes the statement of legal residence form. That's a very important item. It's not required for all programs. So again, go to your portal, see if it's listed. If it's not, nothing that you have to do, but if it is, please complete that. Also, very, very important is your decision reply form. Every person needs to complete their decision reply form. So if you have decided that you will be coming to UC San Diego, you need to let us know. That's going to kick off a lot of different steps that will involve getting your UCSD email address, your login for all the different systems, it's really key that you complete the decision reply form. And in a moment, we're actually going to look at a screenshot so we can point out where you'll be able to find these items. Most students at this time are provisionally admitted. This means that you have official documentation that you'll need to submit to our office, usually transcripts or test scores. So again, in your portal, you will see a list of your pending admissions documents. Please take a look at those. And if you have questions about any admissions items, please contact gradadmissions@ucsd.edu and the team will be able to help you out. So this is the screenshot of the portal that I just mentioned. And you can see here on sort of the left-hand side of the screen, that's where your required forms are going to be listed and your pending admissions documents. You can see here that the decision reply form, the statement of legal residence have been completed. That's why there's the little green check. So you want to make sure that these items are taken care of, so please log into your portal. The other thing I want to have you take a look at on this page is in the sort of lower right-hand corner. There's a bunch of links there. These are items that you need to take a look at. These are actions that you'll need to be taking as you prepare to arrive to UC San Diego. They're all listed in order here, and you can click on those links and make sure that you take care of all of your items as an admitted UC San Diego graduate student. And I think that's it for me.
Thank you. And one last reminder from our office, we do have inewstudent.ucsd.edu, and that is here to break it down for all the steps you need to take as an international student here at UC San Diego. So on the left-hand side, you'll see kind of what that landing page looks like. You'll click, most of you, on graduate students, your education level, and then it will go through step 1, 2, and 3 of applying for your visa documents, preparing for your arrival, and finally what to do upon arrival. So we highly recommend that as something to refer back to break down kind of this process for you. And with that, I'm excited to hand it over to our colleagues in the graduate student financial support team to talk a little bit about what graduate student funding might look like for you.
Thanks, Grace. The first thing we want to talk about is home department role and responsibilities. As we talk through any kind of merit-based financial support that you'll be receiving, and when we talk about responsibilities and contacts, the home department is an important one. You may hear it referred to as academic home department, degree granting department. And the home department has an important role. They will determine if students are academically eligible for their support. They will give approval for funding and employment when that funding and employment takes place in another department. They submit financial support requests on behalf of eligible students. And they're also your primary resource for merit-based financial support and academic employment. We also want to provide some more vocabulary to kind of have for you. So when we talk about fellowships, you may hear two main words, intramural and extramural. Intramural are awards like UCSD's own funding from your department, or GEPA initiated fellowships. Extramural is outside funding from government agencies, corporations, etc. Most intramural fellowships don't have citizenship requirements. So you'll want to talk to your department coordinator or faculty advisor to see if they know of discipline-specific fellowships that are offered by them or by GEPA. And we have some additional resources for you here. The GEPA website provides detailed information about graduate student support policies, employment opportunities, and it was designed with students in mind and has a ton of good information for you. I also want to highlight a couple at the bottom. UCLA Grapes. Students interested in fellowship opportunities can also take a look at UCLA's hosted website. This is an online database with searchable filters and fellowships for many disciplines that are available to all graduate students. All right, and now I'm going to pass it over to Flo, who will take us through what happens to your accounts once you have been awarded a fellowship or other non-employment financial support.
Since we are post-award, most of our processes take place after a student has been awarded a fellowship. We have several fellowships that we also administer, meaning that our team sets up the stipends and fee payments and loads them into the payment system. Additionally, we review and process the stipends and fee payments for fellowships that the home departments administer. When we're reviewing, we check for three main things. In order to be eligible for financial support, a student must be enrolled full-time for the quarter, be in good academic standing, and be within their support time limits. If all three of these criteria are met, our team processes the stipends and fee payments. Stipends are processed each month and they pay in arrears. For example, if your fellowship stipend payments begin in September, you will receive that September stipend payment on or around October 1st. We say on or around because most students will receive their stipend payment a day or two before the first of each month. The department managing the fellowship will set up the stipend and fee payments that are a part of the award. They are also the first point of contact for your fellowship advising questions. The best way to know which office to reach out to for your fellowship questions is by checking your award letter. And here we have listed some of the most common fellowships that we see. If you are an NSF, GRFP, ARCS, or San Diego Match Fellow, you can direct your questions to our unit in GEPA by submitting a ticket. HHMI and T32s are usually administered by your academic home department. You can reach out to your graduate coordinator with your questions via email. And sometimes a fellowship is administered by multiple departments that alternate the years of funding. For example, students who are on the TMI fellowship and the UC HBCU are supported by both GEPA and the home department. The award letter will have the information about which department is supporting you each year, and you can reach out to the appropriate office as needed. Glacier paperwork is required for all international students receiving their first fellowship stipend. Glacier helps determine tax residency, tax withholding rates, and income tax treaty eligibility. Our unit and the Glacier and tax withholding team will initiate the Glacier process about 3 weeks before your first stipend payment date. You will be contacted via your UCSD email, so please respond as soon as possible so that we can finalize your record and issue your stipend payment. You will also receive an invitation to register for direct deposit through PaymentWorks during this process, and this is how you will receive your fellowship stipend payments throughout the year. One more important thing to note is that if you become a permanent resident during the year, please reach out to the Glacier team so that they can update your status. The department managing your fellowship will set up your fellowship fee payments. However, the fee payments do not disperse to your student account until you have enrolled for the quarter. The deadline to enroll on time will be posted on the enrollment and registration calendar, which can be found on the Blink website. There is also the UCGPC fee. This is $7 for the year for graduate students. Departments are not required to cover this fee, and students can also opt out of this fee through their Triton Link account. To sum up, in order to receive your fellowship financial support without delay, please enroll on time each quarter. Additionally, when you receive the email from the Glacier team to submit your paperwork, please respond as soon as possible. Be familiar with your stipend schedule. If you have not received your stipend payment as expected on the date posted on the SFS website, please submit a ticket to us and include your graduate coordinator as a watcher so that we can take a look. Finally, we encourage all students to enroll using the direct deposit tool on Triton Link. This is different from the direct deposit that is through PaymentWorks, but it's important because some international student statuses will change during the year to resident alien or permanent resident. And in these instances, their stipend payments will be processed through a different system, which pays through direct deposit on Triton Link. Now I will turn it back to our Assistant Director, Courtney Aguila.
Now let's discuss employment. Academic employment at UC San Diego is another type of financial support that students may receive. And there are two broad categories of academic employment: research and instruction or instructional support. Graduate student researchers, also known as GSRs, perform research under the direction of a faculty member or authorized principal investigator or PI. The research may be in their home department or in another department. Students may also be appointed as one of the following ASE appointments: associate instructor, teaching assistant or TA, reader or tutor. And in the GSR or ASE role, students may be appointed up to 50% during the academic months and up to 100% during the summer months with approval from their academic home department. And summer is defined as the day after spring and the day before fall, through the day before fall. And we have the website here so that you can dig into the different types of those employment. Students should always check with their home department first for employment opportunities. Additionally, opportunities are posted to the Job Opportunities Bulletin each year in early May. Please review your employment eligibility requirements from ISEO and GEPA. For GEPA, the main eligibility requirements are being registered full-time, to be employed above 25%, being within your support time limits, and maintaining a 3.0 GPA in your graduate level coursework. Depending on the type of financial support you are awarded, you may receive a fee remission or a fee payment as part of your support package. Fee remissions are benefits of employment in graduate academic titles like GSR and TA, and payment amounts are predetermined and set by the collective bargaining agreements that cover those job titles. A graduate student researcher who is employed at 25% or more for the entire quarter and meets eligibility requirements are able to have all mandatory tuition and fees paid as a perquisite of that employment, and which we've listed here on this slide. GSR tuition and fee remission is also called GSRTF, and that request is entered by your home department. Students employed as associate instructors, teaching assistants, readers, tutors, are academic student employees or ASEs. And an ASE who is employed at 25% or more for a full quarter are also eligible for a fee remission. For this academic year, you can see the list of fees covered under that program. ASE fee remission does not cover the non-resident supplemental tuition or program and professional fees. Again, your home department will submit your fee payment if you are holding an ASE position that meets the eligibility requirements. And we have a link for you here that goes into more detail on that also. As a student, we also have a list of responsibilities for you. And these responsibilities cover what it takes to become eligible and maintain eligibility for financial support while you go through your program. It's important that you enroll full-time by the published deadlines, obtain approval from your home department before accepting employment in another department, maintain that employment eligibility by staying enrolled full-time, maintaining your GPA, and staying within your support time limits. It's important that you pay your fees by the published deadline, and work with your home department if you are expecting a fee remission. It's important that you sign up for direct deposit, as Flo mentioned. Submit your application for your ITIN or Social Security number when instructed, and complete those tax forms as appropriate. When students don't pay their student account bills by the published deadlines, you may receive holds. Holds for owed amounts of tuition and fees, housing, library fines, bookstore. Holds placed as a result of outstanding debt will prevent students from registering in future quarters and jeopardize eligibility for other types of financial support. The last thing we want to mention is it's really the student's responsibility to ensure that you are aware of what payments are coming to your account. You want to make sure that you're working with your home department so that they are posting those fee payments prior to the billing dates. You should regularly monitor your student account, even if you know you're fully funded, to ensure there are no unpaid miscellaneous fees close to the billing due dates. And another resource for you is if you have questions, you can connect with Student Financial Solutions. And now I'm going to pass it back to Grace.
Thanks so much, Courtney. All right, so a few reminders before we jump into our Q&A. Our iEvents calendar is a live calendar that provides you a snapshot of all the different ways to engage with our community once you're here. So we're really excited. This calendar is updated continuously by different departments, offices, student orgs, etc. And our iPrograms page gives a description of some of our continuous standing programs, things that you can take part in. So Global Coffee Hours, for example, is a monthly event where we invite our campus community to enjoy some coffee, some pastries, and get to know one another. English in Action is an English conversation program. Triton Trekkers, where you meet monthly with a native English speaker. Triton Trekkers is our collaboration with Outback Adventures, where we take different trips to explore San Diego. So that can be exploring like kayaking La Jolla Cove or rock climbing Mission Gorge, or things like that. ISAC is our International Student Advisory Council, which meets monthly to discuss issues impacting the international student experience. iTable is our basic needs program focusing on international students, and Intercultural Social Hour is a monthly event where we provide a social for our international students. One that I would like to highlight is our Grad Pals Peer Mentorship Program. So this is designed to match incoming international graduate students and pair them with current international graduate students. It's a great program. I will say, I know some of you have applied already. We are currently in the process of identifying more mentors. So we do our matching during the spring, hoping that you all will be matched by the summer and kind of can start that communication and then meet each other in the fall. So thank you if you've already applied, and if you haven't, we'll put that link here in the chat shortly. And then finally, please do follow us on social media. We're posting a lot of content there as well. So we are active on LinkedIn and on Instagram. You can also find us on Facebook, and all of these webinars are posted on our YouTube channel. Okay, so some last reminders. Now is when you can start applying for on-campus housing as well as requesting your visa documents. So there's action you can take. We will want to remind specifically our students who are starting their graduate program before August 1st to submit their visa document request before May 1st. So keep that in mind if you are a summer start student. In July is the deadline to submit many of your health immunization requirements and complete trainings. So we did have a webinar earlier about student health requirements that covered both immunizations as well as insurance. So please refer back to that. And in September and fall is an exciting time for many of our fall 24 students. So tuition is due, there's move-in and check-in and many orientations, including your new international student orientation. A little snapshot of the different webinars we have coming up. So next week, April 2nd and 4th, we have teaching assistantships and English language requirements, as well as student life and getting involved on campus. Then a little bit later in May, we'll have finances and student accounts, transferring your CVIS record, and a little bit more about campus safety. Like I said, all webinar recordings will be posted at inewstudentwebinars.ucsd.edu. We ask for about a week of turnaround time before that's posted from when the webinar takes place, but that's also a resource that you can sign up for upcoming webinars. So if any of these on the screen look of interest to you, please join us. All right, so we already have some good questions coming up. So we'll go ahead and get started with our first question here. It reads, if we are an international student and get a GSR, will we get 100% fee remitted along with a stipend if we work over 25%?
This is a good question, and I'm happy for the opportunity to give this answer out loud. Yes, so GSRs and our other academic employees, those ASEs, associates, TAs, readers, tutors, are full employees of the university. And so not only are you getting your tuition and fee covered as laid out in those collective bargaining agreements, but you are also eligible for salary. And so if you get a 50% appointment, that's 20 hours a week, based on the hiring department or the support commitment that your home department has offered you, you'll get wages based on this rate table that I just put in the chat. So yes, you get tuition and fees and you get a separate salary. And sometimes we get a question about, do I have to use my salary to pay my tuition? No, the tuition is a totally separate benefit and the salary is cash in hand or in your pocket.
Wonderful. Thank you, Courtney. Okay, our next question, is there any deadline for submitting funding docs for receiving our I-20?
Great question. Yes. So, Grace, if you don't mind, would you be able to share our iNews student website?
Mhm. Yeah, let me go ahead and drag this over. Oops, it's taking me to webinars because that's one that I go to often.
So thank you for this good question. Yes, and if Grace, if you can click on the graduate students page, since I'm going to assume most here are graduate students, and step 1. This is our iNews student website. On this website, we have pretty clear instructions on moving through the process of getting your visa, preparing for your arrival to the United States and UC San Diego, and then also your obligations as an F1 or J1 international student once you arrive to the US. Under step 1, you'll find information on requesting your Form I-20 or DS 2019 from our office. This is the visa eligibility document you need to be able to go to your US consulate and apply for your visa stamp. And in answer to your question, yes, we do have strongly recommended deadlines by which you submit your request for your Form I-20 or DS 2019 to our office via the iPortal. If your graduate program is beginning before August 1st, we strongly encourage you to have your iPortal request submitted to us by May 1st. If your graduate program is beginning during the month of August and prior to September 7th, we would encourage you to have that request submitted to us in iPortal by June 1st. If you will be starting with the fall term, we encourage you to have your iPortal request submitted to us by August 1st. These are strongly recommended final deadlines. We will accept and in most cases be able to process document requests for the Form I-20 or DS 2019 after these posted deadlines. However, these deadlines are given with your best interest in mind, knowing what the visa application process can look like in terms of time. So on average, you should plan for about 2 to 3 months for the entire visa application process, from the time you are requesting your Form I-20 or DS 2019 from our office to when you are actually receiving your visa stamp. And that is if you do not encounter any visa delays, which become more common the longer you wait going into the summer to start the visa process. So these deadlines are meant to be a guideline for you based on when your graduate program is starting. However, we would also encourage you not to wait till these deadlines. You can set yourself up well for as smooth of a visa application process as possible by requesting your Form I-20 or DS 2019 from us as soon as possible. So I hope that answers the question, but also encourages you to not wait. The deadlines are a guide, but they are not meant to be, not meant to communicate that you can wait that long and everything will still go smoothly. The sooner you get started on this process, the more smooth it's probably going to be for you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jessica. All right, our next question. Do tutor and graders also get fee waivers or stipends just like the TA or RA role?
This is another good question. Yes, readers, tutors, both of whom may do grading, teaching assistants and associates are eligible for that fee remission. And I'm going to post another link here. And this is a breakdown. It has a little chart of all the fees that are covered and not covered. And I just want to jump to a question a little lower. That is a good tie-in. So there's a question, if we're hired as a TA as an international student and thus out of state, do we need to pay that non-resident supplemental tuition out of pocket? So the answer is yes, maybe. Each home department will provide, as part of their admission process, details about any financial support they may be offering you. If your department has offered you a commitment of support that includes non-resident tuition and fees, then you will not need to pay it out of pocket. But if the support commitment that you receive from your department does not include that, then yes, you will need to pay it some way. And so if you're looking at the documents that you have from your department and you're just not sure, this is one of those times where you'd want to go back to the coordinator in your department and ask them, what exactly does this cover? What does this mean? And they'll be able to help you understand fully like what your package includes. And some departments are even able to provide like a schedule of payments and things. So that's a good question too. So the answer is yes, maybe. And I'm putting in the answer to another question. If you go to your department and you're not sure, or if you're thinking, I just want to put this in an email, you can always email grademployment@ucsd.edu, and it will come to us. And if the ticket is best answered by your department, we're able to bring your departments onto those tickets and have them weigh in and provide insight. If it turns out that your question is really better suited for Student Financial Solutions or the financial aid office, we're also able to take that ticket and move it to them without you having to email, a bunch of different offices. So grad employment at ucsd.edu is another really good resource for you.
Can I just jump in, Courtney? I just really want to highlight something that Courtney said, which is that if you have questions about any of the information in your letter, to ask your department. And I just really, really want to highlight that. If you're not sure about how the funding works in the summer quarter, for example, then just ask them. Sometimes students don't know the questions to ask, and that's perfectly fine. Just reach out to the staff in your department. They're very helpful, and it's a lot easier, I think, to start off knowing all the things that you know, and then later on thinking, oh, I should have asked that question. So I just really, really encourage you all to ask questions if anything is not clear.
Thank you. All right. So our next question is probably going to be taken by our office. So Jessica, for this question, we have a student who, if we have a first year complete fellowship, should they apply for the ITIN or Social Security number now or wait until they are working?
Yeah, it's a good question. So you will not be able to apply for an ITIN or SSN until you are in your active F1 or J1 status here on campus. So if you are going to be receiving income while you're in the United States, chances are you will need to apply for one of these. However, this is something that you can do once you are here on campus in active status and actually beginning your work.
All right. Our next question. So do all the roles mentioned in the academic title rates pages receive tuition fee waivers as well?
Oh, that's a good question. Let me put that link back in the chat and let's take a look. So we have several categories. You can see graduate student researcher up at the top. Those titles are eligible for it. The teaching assistant is eligible, associates, and this associate in lieu of TA, which is special. Graduate readers and graduate tutors are eligible. Undergraduate readers, undergraduate tutors are not eligible for the fee remission. And then at the very bottom, we see there's a one on here called non-student. And these are, as described, these are non-students who maybe come back and perform service in one of these roles. They are also not eligible. But in the regular course of your program, as you are working in the labs and hired as a graduate student researcher, you're hired as a teaching assistant or an associate instructor or as a tutor or as a reader who sometimes they do proctoring or grading. Those are all eligible for the fee remission if you're employed at 25% or more for a full quarter and meet all of the other academic eligibility criteria and you're a graduate student. So that's another yes, maybe. Okay, and then I see the next one, and we can stay on this page. What do the UC Path steps mean, and where can I find information on that? Steps are salary points, and so you can see it's like the third column here. And for graduate student researcher, you see there's 6 steps. This type of employment is covered by a collective bargaining agreement, and departments, well, let me start backwards. So these are covered by a collective bargaining agreement, and the agreement says that students who have 0 quarters of experience as a GSR, we need to pay them at step 1. And after 3 quarters, they automatically bump to step 2. And after 3 more quarters, they bump up to step 3. Now, certain departments provide support above those step levels. So some departments will start at step 4. So that's another nuance that you'll want to talk with your academic home department about to find out, when I'm hired as a GSR in this department, am I going to start at step 1 or will I be paid at step 4 or things like that? So that's what those steps are. They are salary points. And when you are offered employment, you'll get a formal letter that will describe to you your service dates. It'll talk about the benefits like the tuition and fee remission, and it will also indicate which salary point you can anticipate being paid at. And so for the question that directly follows, if you start at step 4, will the next rate bump to step 5 after the first quarter? Not necessarily. The contract only provides for automatic increases through step 3. But your home department may offer something different. So maybe. Those are good questions. Those are all really good questions. And, this is recorded and the slides are going to go out to you and the links will go out to you. But again, just really get used to the idea of connecting with your graduate coordinators, your faculty advisor. They have so much information and will be able to give you the specifics, based on your discipline and your program. But again, if you have more detailed questions or you're just not sure who it should go to, you can always email grad employment.
All right, we'll allow time for just a few more questions. So if you have like a burning question, I encourage you to submit it now. But I just want to thank all of our presenters here. There's truly like such a wealth of knowledge, and we're so fortunate to be able to work with such experts across campus. And so we're just thankful for the time that they lend to be a part of these webinars and just support you in your transition. So we're so glad that you all have been finding these webinars helpful, the information and the resources. And we're just excited to meet you as you attend virtually, and then we get to meet you in person in the fall. Okay, one last question. So when and where do we apply for these roles for the first quarter?
Such a good question. The answer is our favorite answer, and contact your academic home department. You can also take a look at the job opportunities bulletin. You can take a look. Some departments will post jobs, that are open on Handshake. You can look there, but your best resource for that first quarter is going to be your academic home department.
Courtney, I'm so glad you mentioned Handshake. I feel like I probably should have mentioned this maybe a little bit earlier. With the roles that Courtney and Flo and their team work with, are a lot of these, or they are the instructional assistant type roles, the GSR type roles. There are other positions on campus that graduate students can apply for and can do. They're not quite as tied to your academic program. So, for example, our office hires graduate student interns that do programs for us and events for us. I know ISEO has graduate students who work for them as well. And those are not, it's not tied to your academics perhaps as closely as like a GSR position, a researcher position. But these roles are out here, and those would all be posted in Handshake, which is an online job posting board. It's managed by the Career Center at UC San Diego. So this is another resource that you should be aware of, and you can use it to find other types of positions on campus. So definitely want to put in a plug for that. The other thing I wanted to mention, the last question was asking about when can we apply? And I do want to mention that students international students who want to serve as a TA, there is an English language requirement. And next week, we will have a session with the team that kind of manages the English language proficiency exams. And so it could be, depending on your situation, that the English language proficiency might be something that you'll need to take an exam or have some type of action that you need to take before serving as a TA. That's not going to be the case for every single person, but I do want to let you all know that we will be talking about this in a lot of detail next week. So please be aware of that. Oh, there's a question about accessing Handshake. Yes, I think it is. I don't think you will be able to access that until closer to fall. I don't know the exact date, but that's a great question. And I can check in with my Career Center colleagues, and then maybe at a future session, we'll be able to provide that information. But right now is too early. It will be closer to the fall quarter. I just don't know that exact date.
Something else I'll mention is with Handshake, there's actually different advisors that you can meet with in the Career Center to help you kind of navigate and identify employment opportunities that might be of interest to you. So I just went to our website, iwork.ucsd.edu, and this is where you can find a little bit about employment authorizations, both while you're a student and after graduating. But this last button, how to find international friendly employers, goes through a lot of great resources here. So one is Handshake. It also talks about how to filter Handshake for opportunities specifically relevant for international students. It also highlights the Career Center and specifically some of the Career Center advisors that have us focus on international students. So for example, Jessica Wilson focuses on international master's students. So if that applies to you, meeting with Jessica might be of interest to you. We also have a lot of good information here, as well as just general resources for the job search, as well, and then LinkedIn as a networking page. So just want to highlight this website for everyone as you're interested in employment opportunities, and I'll put this in the chat as well. Okay. Yes, lots of good questions coming in. Let's start with this question here, which I think will benefit a lot of students. How can students find the graduate coordinators for their department?
Well, that's a good question. Do we have a list? I think
We have a list, but I think you have to be on VPN.
your first probably good clue would be your admissions documents. There probably is an administrative contact. I would start there. If you get a financial offer of support along with that, it definitely has an administrative contact, and I would start there.
Yeah, I agree with Courtney. You can also check just your program. Just take a look at their website, and you can usually find a list of contacts as well. So start with your admission letter, and then maybe you can also check the website.
All right. We have another question a little bit about the English language requirement. So if our university, which our college is affiliated with, is via an English medium, then we automatically satisfy the English language criterion. Is that right? So I am going to invite you to our webinar next week. For this question, it is possible But it has to be on a certain list that's pre-identified. And more resources and information will be shared. And I'm going to let our colleagues who are truly experts in this field make sure that you get the right information. So for fear of spreading any misinformation, I give you a warm invite to our April 2nd pre-arrival webinar that will focus on this exact question and more. All right. So this next question, Jessica, maybe you can touch on it. So for a student who's working on campus during their studies, is it considered a part of the OPT training?
Yeah, so OPT is optional practical training, which is a post-graduation, typically a post-graduation after your program completion employment benefit available to F1 students. There are different employment benefit regulations and options depending on whether you will be an F1 student or a J1 student. When you are arriving to UC San Diego and attending our iOrientation events and sessions, we have a whole session we're going to do that is dedicated on employment benefits as an international student, both as an F1 student, as a J1 student. So at that time, we will dig into the specifics of what are the employment options available to you, depending on which visa category you are here as a student in the United States. For now, know that certainly there are employment benefits for both the F1 and the J1 category that allow for on-campus employment and off-campus employment. Those, of course, will not be available to you until you have actually achieved or gotten your F1 or J1 status, successfully made it here to the United States, and activated your status by checking in with our office. So know that there are options, and we will dig into what those are and how you get authorized for those in way more detail during our orientation.
Thank you, Jessica. And the only thing I would add to that is if you're really curious about some of that information, so starting in June, you will have access to our iTriton online orientation Canvas course. And we do give you a snapshot into what work authorization as a part of your F1 or J1 student visa you're eligible for. So our pre-arrival webinars take place like March, April, May, and then iTriton, you'll be able to complete that course over June, July, August, and then we'll have our live orientation in September. So we have really tried to be purposeful on the way that we have structured these segments to get you the information that you need to know when you need to know. So like Jessica mentioned, we want to help you focus on just obtaining your F1 or your J1 visa first. You won't be able to take action on a lot of these pieces until your CVIS record has been activated, but we will give you more information as we go along, and there will be more information covered in iTriton. So starting in June, if that's something you're curious about and you really want to start looking into, please do activate Canvas and begin taking that iTriton course, and it will go into more detail there with recap sessions at our live orientation in September.
May I add something to that, Grace, which is notifications about iTriton becoming available and how you access that will be going out in our newsletter. That if you have accepted your offer of admission to UC San Diego, you've set up your UC San Diego email, you should be receiving our newsletters or will soon if you've done that recently. So watch our newsletters and you'll see information about iTriton orientation. As Grace mentioned, as we go into the months moving toward your start of your program, you'll see information about all those things coming out in our newsletter.
Wonderful. And with that, we're going to come to a close today. So thank you so much for attending today's webinar. We're so glad that you continue to find these helpful. I want to thank our co-presenters again for just lending their time and their expertise as we address a variety of topics, a variety of questions. As always, if for some reason a question comes up in the meantime, in the future, you can reach out to us via icontact@ucsd.edu. We know we're a large institution, but as much as possible, even if we're not the office to answer that question, we will do our best to connect you with the office who can. So you can always reach out to us and we work together closely and we'll do our best to connect as needed. So thank you. Have a great rest of your day, whether it's morning, afternoon, middle of the night. We know that many of you join us at all hours of the day. So We appreciate you and are just really excited for you to be a part of our UC San Diego community. All right, take care, everyone.